Hi everyone, I am so excited because I am speaking with author CC Hunter, otherwise known as Christy Craig, and we are going to be talking about her brand new book, just came out about a week ago, and it's a YA novel. It's called In Another Life, and she has the cover. She's got the book, I should say, and we can look at the cover. Look at that. You know what? I get so excited when I see the book because I only see it digital. So it's really just for me because I love looking at the cover. Hold that up again because it's really shiny.
It is. It's a beautiful cover.
Yeah.
We never get to choose sometimes as authors, but I was shown this one, and right away I said, I think I like it. So
I love it. Love it. And when the cover of it, after I read the book, I looked at it and I was like, what do you know what the meaning of some of those, like, is it a giveaway about any of it?
I think the broken pictures is just about another life. There are photographs in the book that she actually sees were of her when she was way younger, and so I think it's relevant to kind of that meaning of seeing a picture of you, how you in another life that you barely remember. So
yeah, and I know this is YA, and let me tell you, when I was like, 14, 15, 16, I would have loved this book too, but as an adult, I still love YA so much. I really do. I am always in the YA section. I'm always looking at YA, lists because this is like, and this is like right up my alley because especially when I was younger, like, and then I think it takes me back. I think at this age, it's like, I like reading those. But there's adults in the book too. But, I love these characters and I love their story and it just, there's something about it. And I always think for you guys, like, is it hard to write YA being older?
Not really. I mean, I wasn't writing YA. I didn't plan on writing YA. I had no plan to do it. I was writing my humorous romantic suspense, and an editor from St. Martin's actually read one of my books and said, I think she could write YA. So she actually called me up, and my first answer was, but I don't write YA. And she said, you don't write YA yet. And I said, I don't. At the time, I wasn't even reading YA. I said, I don't read YA. And she said, you don't read YA yet. And I said, this may kill it, but I didn't read YA when I was a YA. And she told me, she goes, well, I can't fix that one, but you can do this. And I asked her, I said, why? Why do you think I can do this? And she said, Christy, that one's easy. It's because you're a smartass. And teens love smartasses. And I said, my mama told me that would never get me anywhere in life. But I tried it, and I absolutely loved it. What I did was actually take a trip down memory lane to remember what was important to me as a teen.
Yes.
And I realized after that long trip that I hated being a YA, literally hated it. And so I realized if I was going to write YA, I was going to do the number one no-no, which was plagiarize from my own life. And my parents got a divorce when I was 16. There was a lot of fighting going on. It was a very bitter divorce. So in a lot of my books, you see this element of losing your tribe. And that's what really happens, is that you lose the people around you, the foundation of your life. And so I love doing it. And the YA section, actually, it's amazing that most of my readers are adults. I have probably about 65% adults.
Yeah, so. I know. I thought I was just weird. But as I talk to more authors and readers, and they're like, no, I love YA. I'm like, oh, good. I just thought I couldn't grow up, and I just needed to keep reading YA.
Actually, I tell people quite regularly, if you want to learn a woman's age, write a YA. Because I'll bet about half of my emails open with, I'm 42 years old, I'm 60 years old, and I love your books. So I think it really is, and it's not necessarily about remembering. I don't think it's all about remembering when we're young. Right. I think what it is about good story. And being a teen, you experience everything for the first time, and everything is so painful, and you're learning and you're growing, and I think those make great characters. Yes. So any character that's growing and trying to figure out who am I and how am I going to deal with this just makes a great plot. So I
Yes.
think that's part of it.
Absolutely. And, I thought with Chloe, that's what you did so well. And, when we go to like our high school reunions, now that we're older, right? And we go to, and you start talking about, what you were going through in high school, and you think you're the only one. And then you find out everybody else's families were just as messed up as your own.
I know. There's drama everywhere you turn around, and that's what I said. There family issues and
Yes.
and learning that your parents aren't perfect, because that's what Chloe really has to learn, is that she kind of put her parents on a pedestal like we all do,
Yes.
and then to learn their flaws, and they were big.
Yeah.
And to learn to forgive them for them. And that was an important part of the story, too. So
yeah, and I really related to her, too, because, there she is in high school. Her mom was sick. She had cancer. That's not a giveaway because it's in the beginning. But it's like my dad had a heart attack when I was in high school. And back then, it was a huge deal, like a really big, not that it's not a big deal, but he was in the hospital a long time, and you don't talk about it. It's like a few of my friends knew, but just like she kept doing, I thought you did it beautiful with her, because when people would ask her about it, she was like, she's fine. That's how I did it. Yeah, she's fine. Because as a teenager, you can't handle like those adult things. And so you kind of keep them in. And, so your close circle knows, but you're still not sharing that much.
Right. It's hard to, it's hard. You don't want to feel different.
Right.
And you don't want to play the pity card.
Yes.
And you try to, kind of just take it and go with it. And yet it affects everything in your life. And you kind of protect that pain that you have as a young adult, I think.
Right, so. and then there she goes into a new school. But, okay, I'm going to give the first line, okay, because I love this. There are a couple of lines I have here that I love. The first one, what are you doing, I ask when Dad pulls over at a convenience store only a mile from where Mom and I are now living. What I love about that sentence is right away we know her situation, because her parents are obviously divorced or separated, okay? You can tell, you can sense the tense in her voice. You find out she's not happy. Like, there was so much packed into that first sentence. When I went back, I was like, oh my gosh, Christy, you did that so well, because it's a way to explain without explaining. You don't want to have to write out, oh, and her parents are not living, like it's a way.
You get right to the subject. And it did. That beginning I worked on that beginning a long time. I kept going back and changing it and going back. And when I finally felt like it gave the emotional beginning that I wanted, with hints of there was so much more about her story. Right. And that's kind of what I wanted to show, is that this other life that she doesn't even know exists, but it's already intruding a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And then the end of the first chapter, the last line of the first chapter, you say, but this time I'm not feeling so lucky. And, that whole first chapter, we're understanding, she's not happy about this move. She's not happy about going, I can't imagine one of my children having to go to a different school for their senior year. She's an only child, like all these things we're finding out about her in that first chapter. And it's the great setup for, because I was already in. And you want to do that. You want to have us as readers. It's like that first chapter, you want us all ready to buy, like we're in for the book. And you did that so well.
Thank you. I wanted to give you what her pain was. And that's something that as writers, we write differently. We approach a story differently. And for me, it's sort of what is the character going through. And what have they survived? What is their past? What is their secret? And once I know their secret, then I put them in the worst case scenario to develop and explore that secret. And that's kind of what I did. I wanted Chloe to have the pain of worrying about her mother and still being so angry at the situation. Because her mother, even though she was the one that was wrong, her mother's approaching everything wrong. Yeah. So I really wanted to show that. And I think I know as a teenager, my parents got a bitter divorce, and I was kind of put in the middle. It's like each one of them wanted me to take their side, and they were wonderful parents, but this kind of threw them off their mark as being the right kind of parents. Right. And I think divorce does that. So
yes,
that was important to me.
having someone, I've been divorced, so I know it's very difficult.
Oh, it is.
It's very difficult. But then along comes a boy, okay? Because we can't have a great YA novel without a boy being involved.
A good boy brings everything out. I think the stories, I think you need a good boy and a good friend.
Yes.
Those are what you need in all stories. So,
yes.
Yeah.
And what a fun character to write. I mean, what depth in his character. What I loved learning about him. Even though the story was like about her, sort of, I love learning about him. You made him so intriguing, and his past was, it's just, he had his past too. And I don't want to give anything away, so I'm trying to tread lightly on that. But I really, I loved his character. Really loved his character.
Thank you. I love writing scarred heroes. I love writing characters, and for me, putting two characters together that either they contradict each other or they also embellish each other. And with Chloe and Cash, they were two characters who had dealt with coming at it from a different angle, but had both dealt with pain in their childhood. And together, they both taught each other something. And so I love that when his experiences helped her, and her experience, by helping her with her experience, it kind of helped him.
Right.
And so together they found, each other and learned to deal better with their own problems by helping each other. And that's what I kind of wanted. I wanted these two to grow together.
Yeah,
so.
And you know what? I have to tell you, as a reader, I look at the details, okay? I fall for details, okay? And what I noticed with their names is that Chloe and Cash, both starting off with the same sound, to me, it made them a team. Okay.
Yes.
And I was thinking, you've written so many books, and when I went back and read your bio, I'm like, she had to have done that on purpose. Did you?
I did. I love creating names that kind of feel like they go together. Just from and creating a name. I'll tell you, I'm terrible with names. My editor at St. Martin's actually sent me a baby book. He said, "Try this." But I love picking names that seem to go together. And actually where I got Cash was my granddaughter was talking about a little boy at school. And she said, and then Cash said this. And I went, who? And she said, Cash. And I thought, ooh, I like that name. And it, and then there's so much to a name. And I got to thinking, well, wouldn't that be the name that his father would have given him? Because probably more important than anything to the father was money.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. See, things just pass me by. But what I loved, because I'm such a name person, and they, a lot of people will say, if I talk to people who write about writing books, will say stay away from the same sound for two characters' names. But in this case, I thought it worked really well. Because they're not that close, but they're I don't know. I thought it worked really well. I like that.
Right, they just seem to go together.
Yes.
Sort of like a peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
Cash.
Exactly.
It just felt like they belong together. So, like I said, I admit I'm not the best at picking names, but when I play with the names for a while, I'll pick a name and kind of opening the first chapter and change it to something else and think about it. And then, but when I heard my granddaughter say Cash, I thought, that's it.
That's it.
That is the name I need. So, I love, there's so much to a name. And yet, if you think about it, as parents, we give these children names before they're born, and we kind of expect them to grow into their name. Right. I've known very few people that say, I have to look at my daughter before I can name her. And I think that's kind of smart, but most of us pick a name and we expect them to grow into their names.
You know what? That is so funny, because I was just watching the Kardashians with my daughter, and they don't name their children for a week. And they called them different names all week, and then whatever they liked the best by the end of the week. And I was like, I'm sorry. I could not have done that.
You were Charlie, but then you changed to James, and so then we sometimes call you James. So no, names are important, but it's the emphasis I think you give to on the character, to build the character to sound like who they are. And I felt like cast was perfect
I
for
thought
that.
it was too. When I heard that, I was just like, I was too busy being tired. I didn't have that much energy.
Right. I know. I need a name.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
We kind of do that with our pets sometimes. I've never thought about doing it with our kids.
Right, exactly.
Come here, Charlie. Come here. You know, are you a Boo or Blackie or, you know? But
you end up
I
calling them
think
different things.
so.
Exactly. Okay, well, let me see. Okay, like I said, you've written a lot of books. You've got a lot of books out there. I don't know how you do it, okay? Because you write, sometimes authors will write a lot of books in like one genre or a series, but you all over the place. I mean, you must be, in your head, must be just like all this stuff.
You know, my imagination is not my weak point. And I tell that to people. A lot of people, I said, well, what if you wake up one day and you don't have another book? And I said, honey, I've already got so many. Write the ones I've got. But I do, I mean, it's like I love different things. I'm not just a one person. Now, I'll admit, when I started writing, that was what everybody told you is, you know, pick your genre and stay in it and build it. And I did. I wrote, I think it was like 8 or 9 humorous romantic suspense before I broke into writing young adult. Like I said, I was invited in and just discovered this genre that it was just like, that was me. It was really funny because the first thing she said is, I don't want you to try to sound young. And I was like, okay. She said, I want the same voice. And so I said, okay. And so a lot of people ask me, well, how do you go from these different writing tones and writing voices? And I really feel like my voice is the same. Some of them are more humorous than others, but it depends on the character and the story and the plot. But I feel like the voice is the same.
Right.
I think one of my best days of writing was I had just started writing the Shadow Falls series, so I think I had 2 or 3 of those out, and someone posted on my Facebook page that said, "This is the best day ever. I just realized my favorite 2 authors are the same person." And I thought, oh, yes. So I have pulled a lot of my adult readers into my young adult, and I've pulled a lot of my young adult readers as they get older, or if they're older and started reading me, into my adult novels. So I think the tones are similar. Like I said, some books are funnier. The adults are sexier, obviously. But it was just about coming from a teenager's point of view. They're not going to be worried about how you pay the water bill.
Right.
You know, their angst is going to be something different than a young 20-something-year-old starting out on their own, or a 30-something-year-old.
Right. Okay, so show off some of those covers, because I know you have some of the new releases right now.
Okay. This one here is, it's called Don't Close Your Eyes, and it is an adult thriller. And this book, actually, talking about plots that stay with you, I got the idea for this plot when I watched Prince of Tides, and that will tell my age, because I watched that movie years ago. Like, I think it's been like 30 years now. And when I watched it, I just loved something about a childhood trauma affecting us and an adult. And maybe something you didn't even remember, but it's always been there.
I just watched that recently.
Did you?
I did.
I think it still stands up. I haven't seen it in a while. But
no,
some movies don't.
It's good.
But I think it did. So this story came to me, and it's basically about a young woman who is like 29 years old, and she's had something that's kind of haunted her, a reoccurring nightmare. And as she gets older, she begins to realize it's more than a nightmare. And nothing that she believed about her childhood is true. So it's another one of those kind of like, what happened? What's the story? And she remembers a cousin that she, had never remembered before. And she remembers seeing this cousin being buried. And so it's a story about what really happened and who did it. And we know right away that it's somebody in her family, and she doesn't even know if it's her own mother.
Wow.
So it's about uncovering the truth. And, of course, there's a hot hero, because there's got to be hot guys in our stories. And this one here is another YA. And this one is This Heart of Mine. And this story is actually from a very personal experience. My husband had a transplant. And and he's one of these guys that never remembers his dreams. He has them, but he doesn't remember them. After the transplant, he had a reoccurring dream for about 3 days. And the dream was there'd be an old man staring him right in the face. And he'd wake up, and that's where he'd wake up, and the man would be gone, and it would be, just terrifying. Well, we found out it was a 65-year-old man that gave him the organ. So, hence came the story. And basically, this story is about a 17-year-old girl who gets a new heart. And the only problem is it comes with the donor's memories. Police say he committed suicide, but her dreams say something different. And actually, this book is a Spirit of Texas Award this year.
When does that one come out?
Excuse me?
When does that one come out?
This one already came out. Okay. It came out in 2018, and then the paperback version just came out in March. Oh, okay. So the paperback version just came out. So it's a story, and she actually gets together with the identical twin of the donor and finds out he's having the exact dreams. Ooh. So together they try to figure out what really happened to his identical twin brother. And of course it involves her learning that to live again, because she had given up. She has AB negative blood, and that's the hardest one to get a match for. And so the story really it's tender. It's very much in tone, very similar to In Another Life. It's about her learning to live again, finding out that some things are worth speaking up for, because before she was sort of a milquetoast and would go along with anything. And once you get this new lease on life, you kind of take it a little bit different. So that story, and so I love it. And then I'm also working on, which I don't have to cover, is The Mortician's Daughter. And right now it is free. So you can go for ebook, you can go and download it on any place to download. And it basically is about a young girl who can see spirits. Her daddy is a mortician, and he brings his work home with him. The spirits follow him home. She can see and talk to them, and they expect her to fix their last problems. Wow. It's a 3-book series, and so it's suspense. It's got a lot of suspense in it. The tagline is sort of like she learns scarier than the dead or the living. Because she ends up trying to figure out who solve murders. And some of her ghosts are very simple. They won't find my cat and find it a new home. And others are more my death wasn't an accident. So so I love doing it. I love suspense. You'll see that you'll just about find the suspense angle. There is just something about being fear that drives a book. And I love reading about it. I love the suspense in a book, what's going to happen next. And so I love writing a suspense.
Oh, well, I can tell. And it seems like you are always writing, so.
I am. I work 7 days a week. It's very seldom that I actually take a complete day off. And most of the time it's when I'm at a conference or something. So but they say do what you love, and you seldom work a day in your life. And I am doing what I love.
Well, that certainly comes out. Show that cover one more time of In Another Life, because I am going to put the indie link for anyone who wants to go to their local bookstore and pick it up. I'm going to put the Amazon link, because you can order it on Amazon now, and then I will put all of Christy's links listed below. And thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you.
I enjoyed this, Michelle. It's so fun to talk to readers and kind of give them an idea of what my books are about, and inspire them, because I can tell you I'm dyslexic. So, even getting to the point where I could publish a novel, it took me 10 years to write before I published my first book. And it took 13 years before I published book 2. And so a lot of people, when they discover me, they think, oh, she must have been an overnight success. And I want to ask, what night in 23 years was it that I became a success? So anybody finding and chasing a dream, I don't care what it is, be it writing or going back to school, finding out what you want and love and just holding on to that dream. So I encourage everybody to find their dream.
That's awesome. And you know what? Next book that comes out, you know where to find me. We can talk again.
Great. Fabulous. Thank you. And thank you for putting the links on there so everybody can find my books. And remember, The Mortician's Daughter, so you can grab it, the first book in the series, for free.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christy. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.